Shadows fall and spirits howl. Zombies stalk and madmen prowl. Monsters lurk and victims shiver. Thrills and chills they will deliver. Arise from your graves and get in the mood. It's time to join the Spooky Dudes.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. That's how you know you're a pro. Just can't do it right. Oh my God. What's up, everybody? We're back, episode 10 here of Spooky Dudes Live. I guess that's what I'm calling it. Back from the hiatus here. And I got another special guest joining me this evening. He's a horror author who we could just go have Panera Bread together because he's right down the road, Mr. Jesse D'Angelo.
Oh, you just said the magic word, Panera. Oh my God. I'm trying to lose a few pounds, but just the thought of that broccoli cheddar with the bread, dip it in there. Oh, so nice. Anyway, Thank you for having me.
Hey,
happy to be here.
Thanks for being here, man. Our buddy Kevin, who was on the show 3 or 4 episodes ago. Sorry, Kevin. Thank you. He has now hooked us up twice with interviews, and Jesse is our guest tonight. Kevin sent him right over and said, "Hey, man, talk to Corey. He's only moderately crazy, and we'll have some fun."
Cool.
So
happy to be here.
Well, let's get started by talking about your project.
Okay.
Your newest book, which is Dying Sheep.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about that. An extreme horror novella. Tell us what goes on in Dying Sheep.
A whole lot of teenagers get brutally killed in the most over-the-top fashion possible. It's basically like a love letter to all the 80s slasher movies that I love growing up, and then also a reaction to all of the extreme horror that I've been seeing. It's becoming a popular subgenre. I never really thought of myself as like an extreme horror person, whether it be books or movies. Like, I don't mind gore or extreme violence, but it's not like that's what I'm in it for. Like, some of my favorite movies are like, The Fly, The Blob remakes, American Werewolf in London, Reanimator, some of the goriest stuff that you can think of. But it wasn't like, oh, I have to watch something because it's just the goriest. I want to watch the most disgusting thing. I want to read something that's the most horrid, vile thing. I just wanted an entertaining story with cool monsters, good music, good acting, and whatever. And I love horror. And for me, just saying horror by itself implies extreme. Like, you can't really have proper horror unless something extreme happens. So some of my other books, if you read through them, there's some moments of extreme violence and there's gory, bloody stuff. But, they're moments chosen, for dramatic effect. It's not just like start to finish, just as much gore as I could possibly throw in there. And that's what I was seeing a lot of with like extreme horror and splatter punk, stuff like that, where it's like, just make it the most disgusting you can, the most extreme you can. And so I was like, well, let me write a book that's like my response to that. Let me do something that is extreme, but at the same time is kind of poking fun at it a little bit. So it's like a love letter to the genre, but also a satire of the genre. And being a fan of, like, as far as slasher movies from the 80s go, I was always a Jason fan. More so that, I like all of them. I like Michael Myers and Freddy and Chucky and all those. But I just prefer Jason, and he's the best kind of big, intimidating looking boogeyman to me, right? So I was like, I'm going to do something that's like my tribute to those movies. It's going to be set in 1980. There's going to be a bunch of kids at a lake house. There's going to be a big hulking boogeyman stalking them and murdering them, and I'm going to go as over the top as I can possibly go with it. But then I also wanted to give it a twist. So there's more to it than just kids go to a thing and there's a boogeyman and he kills them. So the story is told from the boogeyman's point of view. His name is Marvin Brunlow. So the whole narrative is first person, present tense. So we are just right there with him in the present, moving along with him. And, you know, do you want me to spoil it? How much do you want to know? I don't know how much I should tell you, because there is stuff that's, you know, kind of me trying to put a twist on it.
Sure.
So,
just enough to get, you know, to give the audience an idea of what's going on. It sounds like it's a slasher. It's a bit of an homage, but it's also not taking it too seriously, which that sounds, I mean, that sounds rad to me, man. That's
so the story starts where our hero, our protagonist, our serial killer, is on death row. And it starts by him saying, "Tomorrow I fry." That's the first sentence of the book. So he's on death row. He's about to go to the electric chair. He gets a visit from a very mysterious representative who says that he's been sent by Lucifer, essentially, in hell, and that after he dies, he can go to hell where he can basically become a celebrity. And that in this kind of world, hell is pretty much just like Earth. There's no fire and brimstone. There's, you know, it's just like going to some crummy city where there's a lot of like poverty and stuff, but it's like people have jobs, people pay their bills, you know, people have regular everyday problems. They go to the movies, you know, they watch TV, they go to sporting events, but it's all in the culture of hell. Sure. And in hell, there's this sporting event. It's sort of like boxing or UFC or something, but instead of gladiators coming and fighting while people watch them, it's a boogeyman goes into the real world and murders a bunch of people while they watch, like via cameras, you know. So it's sort of like there's a lot of these boogeymen, and, you know, some of them are like Freddy style, some of them are Chucky style, you know. There's all different kind of looks, and they all have different abilities, and they all kind of can walk into the Earth dimension and kill a bunch of teenagers, and it's all being videotaped so that all the fans in hell can like watch from home while they eat popcorn, you know. So it's like watching the UFC, except they're watching people actually getting murdered. So that's kind of the conceit of the whole idea, and it plays with the tropes of the genre and tries to explain certain things that those movies that you watch, you always are left wondering, like, why is Michael Myers the boogeyman? He starts in the beginning of the movie, he's this little kid. When his father comes up to him in that first shot, they're like Michael? They take his mask off. So it's like, it's implied that this is not normal behavior for Michael. He's probably was a normal kid, and then what happened? Something did he get possessed by a demon and suddenly he's become the boogeyman? We never know. I really actually kind of like that about Halloween. Like, I don't like when you try to explain too much, and that was a point John Carpenter made, and one of his critiques of Rob Zombie's Halloween was like, I don't want to know why Mike Myers became the way he is, right? Yeah. But for my book, since it's being told from the character's perspective, you know, I wanted to kind of explain that and explain, well, why does Jason keep getting up? Why is he the boogeyman? You know, those first 4 movies, Jason's not actually a zombie, not technically. You know, at the end of each one, they're like, well, we killed him, but it's like, could he really survive that? Probably not. You're not really sure. But you're asking yourself, like, why does he keep coming back? Why is he going after these kids? Why? You know, and And well, right.
This is the
And
answer.
yes, well, that's the answer in my book too, because
Okay.
the people in hell pay good money to see boogeymen go into the real world and kill people. So it's all like an industry. It's all like a sporting event. Like our serial killer goes to hell, and he's got like a manager who books him his events, and there's the president of the company who's like a Dana White kind of character.
Oh
And
man.
so it's very much like the UFC meets Friday the 13th.
Okay.
So
We got
that's about as much as I'm going to give away. I've probably spoiled too much.
we got a positive comment here in the chat coming from the Twitch channel. Thank you,
Woo-hoo.
Skeletex.
Thank you, Skeletex.
My good buddies and
Nice.
moderator on that channel. There's a bot
Oh,
in
yeah?
there I saw, so get rid of it, please.
Oh, cool.
Thank you, Skeletex.
Awesome.
No, it sounds great, dude. And I, like, look, influences are influences. And when I heard about it just now, I'm hearing a little bit of influence from maybe Cabin in the Woods with the whole.
Yeah. Sorry, finish what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
maybe not, but like that's kind of what it. Not to say that's Cabin in the Woods, but like the kind of premise. If anybody hasn't seen Cabin in the Woods, you need to watch it.
Yeah.
By the way, but like the premise of kind of these creatures, or I guess it's almost like the opposite of it, though, right? Like the creatures are in control. It's not the humans controlling the creatures for.
Right.
I like it though. I think that's a really smart premise.
It's similar to Cabin in the Woods in the sense that it's like a high concept twist of what we're already used to.
Yes.
But it was not influenced in any way by Cabin in the Woods. I saw that movie. I'm actually not a big fan.
Really?
Sorry.
Is it the ending that bothered you?
No.
Like, what's the?
No, I wouldn't say it bothered me. Like I thought it was fine. Like I enjoyed it. I just didn't like love it, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about the UFC, and I was trying to think about the modern kind of climate of extreme horror books, and I was like, well, if I was going to do an extreme horror book, what would I do? Because everybody's got their own idea of what extreme means.
Sure.
And some people want it to be like really upsetting and disturbing and do things that are really going to kind of upset the reader, like in ways like, like children being tortured, animals being tortured, stuff that involves like puke and shit. It's like the serial killer, like, pukes in somebody's mouth while he's gutting them alive. And, I'll have somebody smear shit all over themselves while they go do, it's like they're going for the gross out, and they're doing things that they know will be offensive. And, and
that's the word. It's offensive, right? Like it's when I read that it was an extreme horror novella, I was kind of like, oh man, please don't be that just like nasty vomit poop stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, if that's your thing, you like the gross out stuff, like, cool, like that's fine. Dig what you dig,
Sure.
But I was thinking of like, well, what's my idea of like what I would want to read, what I would want to watch as a movie, as far as extreme horror, and just thinking about the Friday the 13th movies, it's like it's a guy going around butchering these kids, and it's bloody and it's gory, and for me, like, that's what I want out of horror. I don't want to see children getting hurt. I don't want to be grossed out just for the sake of it.
Sure.
And so I just wrote something that basically I would like, and that's sorry, these things are kind of I'm trying to get them in just tight enough, but not too tight. And I don't usually wear these things, so I'm sorry if I sound weird.
No, you're good. Sound great.
What I do when I'm about to write a book is I basically have two things that I kind of weigh on the scales. First, it has to be something that I like, that I would like to read.
Sure.
And it has to also be something that an audience would like to read, right? And I think a lot of authors kind of do one or the other, right? They're like, fuck everybody else, fuck the haters. I'm writing for me. I'm just going to write whatever I want to write, and I don't care if anybody else likes it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one group. And then the other group is like, I'm going to write whatever's commercial, whatever sells. If I see in the threads that like romance is really popular now or westerns are really popular now, I'm going to write romance, or I'm going to write westerns. I'm going to create a couple different pseudonyms to write for for those people, and they're not really writing for themselves, right?
Yeah.
For me, in order to get jazzed about it, in order to be passionate enough to actually sit down and write something and finish it, it has to be something that I think is cool, right?
It
and
should
that I
be.
would
That's
want to
what it should
read.
be.
Yeah, but it
why-
also has to be something that other people will like. I don't want to just say fuck everybody else. I'm only writing for me.
Sure.
So when I find that balance, when I find an idea that's both, that's when I know, like, okay, this is what I'm going to move forward with. So yeah.
I mean, dude, I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, it's just like, if you're miserable in a job, you're never going to do your best work. If you're miserable creating something, why on earth would it be readable? Like, why would it be fun for anyone to read?
To be fair, I don't want to throw shade at people who do that, because like it's a profession.
Sure.
Like there are writers that like they do ghost writing, or they write for like technical manuals, or they write whatever they're getting paid to write, and it's like that's their job. They're paid. They write. Somebody else takes the credit, or whatever it is. But it's like it's not necessarily a passion project for them. It's just a profession, and they do it, and they find a way to do it well, and they take pride in it. And if you're someone who can do that, like, great, like, more power to you, like, do your thing. I'm just saying, like, for me, like, I have to be passionate about it, or it's I'm not going to do a good job. So
yeah, no, I feel that, man. I think if you find the balance, that's probably the best of both worlds. I mean, there's no point. I say there's no point, but if you're just writing for yourself, like, are you, what's the point in publishing it if it's only for you? Because it's gonna be tough to sell a book and you say, well, I wrote this and I hate everybody, and so you probably won't like it, but here's a stack of them. Come to the table.
Yeah, well, some people have that mindset, and they're not trying to do anything huge. They're writing for a very select niche.
Sure.
And they just want to write something that's, really offensive or really specific, will only appeal to a small group of people. And look, if that's your thing, great. I'm trying to make a living.
Sure, yeah.
I'm trying to do what I enjoy doing and also pay the bills and support my family. So I'm trying to write stuff that's commercial and will sell, and people on a larger scale are going to like, and that I also enjoy. So far I've been doing that. I've really been passionate about every book that I've done, and Dying Sheep was the same thing. I wrote it real quick. I mean, it must have been from the time I started the first draft to the time, I finished everything with all the edits. It's like 3 months. And now, it's a short book. It's only like 109 pages or something like that. But I put just as much care into that as I do, one of my books that's over 300 pages. You got to treat each thing you do like with great care, and I'm a perfectionist. So it's not just the book. I do the art, so I do all the covers for my books. Some of my books have interior art, so I do that. And I'm real particular, so I don't put anything out unless I'm like super proud of it, and it's like my baby, and I'm sending it off into the world, and my kids graduated from college, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like, I put this book out and I'm just so happy with it. Can I pimp it out? I've got one right here.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
show it off.
They came in the mail, right? So here it is.
Yeah, I saw the video of you opening the box with the Kubrick
Yeah.
music.
Oh, and it's like
Cool cover,
it's
man.
a nice gloss. It came the first copies that came in were matte and they looked pretty damn good. But then these glossy ones came and I was just like, oh, they look so good. I'm so
Shiny.
happy.
Got that shiny.
Yeah. Oh man. So I'm so stoked just to finish something and put it out there and feel like you've done a good job with it and that other people are liking it. Man, I'm getting like reviews already. I'm getting reviews faster than I've gotten on any of my other books, and like the vast majority of them are really positive. People seem to really be digging it. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, hallelujah.
Well,
Great feeling.
You did something right. Like, I mean, I did
Trying.
a quick Google search just before the show, and I wasn't going to
Mhm.
bring it up, but yeah, lots of very positive 5-star reviews in there. So
Cool.
that's good, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Jesse.
Yeah. So and in the fashion, or in the tradition of Friday the 13th and all of those other franchises, the intention is that this is a franchise.
Yeah.
So like there's if it goes to plan, there's going to be like 10. Like I want to do like Dying Sheep 1 through 10, and
Yeah.
each one just gets progressively more and more ridiculous. Much like the Jason movie. So there's got to be like Marvin goes to Manhattan. Marvin goes to outer space. Marvin goes back in time and fights the dinosaurs. Maybe not that one. Marvin gets married.
When he goes to New York, can he spend more time in New York on the boat? Like
maybe, or maybe that'll be part of the joke. Is that it'll be Marvin goes to New York and he's only in New York for like the last 5 pages, and I make a commentary on that, So no, that's the kind of shit I'm gonna do. Like it's real tongue in cheek. It's for those people that have watched all those movies and they know that they're gonna read and be like, I see what you're doing, So it's a big inside joke basically. And I didn't take it seriously, and it doesn't take itself seriously. So hopefully people don't take it too seriously either. It's a silly little book.
Well, I'm anxious to check it out. If you guys want to get yourselves a copy, I put a link in the notes, but you can also go over to, and it's hard to say, but encyclopocalypse.com.
Easier than that, it'll take you to the Encyclopocalypse website, is go to buyhorrorbooks.com.
Buyhorrorbooks.com.
Buyhorrorbooks.com will take you to the Encyclopocalypse website. You can get copies there. It's on Amazon. It's on barnesandnoble.com. I'm trying to get into some stores as well. Going to be in Second and Charles. So
oh, nice.
Yeah. So trying to spread the word. It's kind of like there's a library event coming up soon in Chattanooga where they're like calling all local authors and artists, and where it's like a con basically where everybody sets up and shows off their books or their stuff. Some people sell. And so I submitted, to them by email saying like, I'm a local author. My name's Jesse D'Angelo. I wrote this book, Dying Sheep, and here's a picture. And like, I can just imagine some little old librarian who's like, getting these emails saying like, let's see what this author is. And then she sees this. You're right. And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's family friendly.
We were just dyeing the sheep. We dyed them pink.
Right.
That's about. It's an Easter novella.
Yeah.
Extreme Easter.
I don't think it's going to be taken too well by the church-going kind of group.
Probably.
But maybe. I don't care.
Depends.
I don't care. Fuck them.
Brandon Posey with the
books.
Completely non-essential comment of the night. Thank you, Brandon.
Woo!
Stops by
books are good.
Week. He just exclaims something and
thank you, Brandon.
Leaves shortly thereafter. Thank you, buddy. Well, Jesse, I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
I'm a huge sellout, and
it's okay. So am I.
Being a huge sellout, I have a sponsor, and I would like to pimp them out for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys like clothing with horror things on it. Horror action figures, horror socks, horror shirts, hoodies, all kinds of. They got scarves now. Okay, guys, go to fright-rags.com. Use code SpookyDudes10 at checkout for 10% off your order, even if it's on sale. Oh my God, it's so good. Now, here's a caveat to this code. It only works once. So fill your card up to the brim. You got tax money. It's tax season. You didn't have to pay back, hopefully. Check it out. Fright-rags.com. Code SpookyDudes10 at checkout. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Jesse, I have some questions here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, whoa. No, Posey said one more thing. You are most welcome, Jesse. What a kind guy.
Holding up my thumb, but the camera's not seeing it. There we go.
Looks like they've got a lot of the Halloween Ends stuff on sale. So first off, I'm going to ask this question because that movie just popped in my head. What did you see Halloween Ends?
No, and I don't think I want to. I haven't seen any of the new ones. The Halloween remake that's just called Halloween.
The
Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. I'm kind of done with Hollywood, to be honest. Like when I talk about like slasher movies I love and stuff, it's the classic stuff. Most of the time when something new comes out, it's either not new and fresh and I'm not interested, or it's something that I used to be interested in, like Halloween or Spider-Man or something. Like in my youth, I would have been like, oh, new Spider-Man movie's coming out. Woo! Right? Now it's like, oh, new Spider-Man movie's coming out. Oh, it's going to suck like everything else fucking sucks. You know, so I'm becoming that bitter old man that says everything new sucks. But no, everything I've seen and heard from the new Halloween movies just makes me go, no thanks.
I did not like it at all.
Yeah.
I did like 2018. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But it went downhill really quick.
I'm also not a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis. I met her once and she was not nice to me at all.
Really?
And that kind of tainted my perception of her.
Can we get a story there? Can we get the story?
Yeah. So she was, God, I must have been like 19, 20 years old at the time. I was working at Blockbuster Video back when there were still Blockbuster Videos. It was Santa Monica, California. I'm working at Blockbuster doing my thing. Jamie Lee Curtis walks in the store, right? I'm a Halloween fan. I'm a Trading Places fan. I'm like, oh, shit, it's Jamie Lee Curtis. So she starts looking around, and I do my customer service thing. I was like, oh, hello. You know, is there anything I can help you find? And she's like, yeah, I'm looking for such and such CD. And I was like, oh, let me try to help you find it. And she was like, yeah, I'm looking for it. She had this kind of like dismissive attitude, like right from the get-go. And as I'm trying to look for this CD for her, I'm saying like, by the way, ma'am, like, can I just say, like, it's great to meet you. Like, Halloween is one of my favorite movies. I'm really interested in filmmaking myself, and that was one of the ones that like really inspired me. And you know, so I want to thank you. You know, and she goes, oh, don't thank me, thank John Carpenter. You know, like that. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, that's cool. You know, and I keep looking. I'm, you know, looking for the CD, and we don't have that CD in stock. And I was like, oh, Miss Curtis, you know, I'm sorry. It looks like we don't have that. Like, checked everywhere. I'm really sorry. Is there anything else I can help you with? And she goes, yeah, you can help me find the CD that I asked you for. Just like that, right? And I was just standing there, just like, you know, I didn't know. Like, what do you say? It's like we don't have it, you know. And she doesn't have to give me that kind of attitude. And she kind of walked off like, oh, fine. And she like, you know, and it was just like, Jesus, dude, like, come on, you know. And I've heard other stories like that.
Like when she was an alcoholic, or you know. She went through some kind of substance abuse or something at some point. Not that that's an excuse to be a dick, but it could help explain things.
Yeah, it could. I mean, look, I don't know much about her. I don't know about her personal life, and if that was going on, and she's, gotten better, and maybe she was just in a terrible mood that one day, and the rest of the time she's great. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, from my personal experience, that kind of
That'll
tainted
taint.
her for me.
Yeah. That
You
was
know,
probably
and-
before she got on Activia too. She could have been blocked up.
Right. But I'll tell you, I'll tell you two more quick stories
Okay.
from the Blockbuster days. Right.
Yeah.
So at one point, Dennis Quaid comes in. Right.
Oh, don't tell me Dennis Quaid was a douche. Come on.
No, he was cool. Right. So he was. They had those promos playing on a loop in the monitors all around the store. Right. You know, and there were trailers for movies, and there were ads for Coke, and all these things playing, and one of the trailers that was playing on a loop all the time at that time was Dragonheart, right?
Mhm.
And so the trailer for Dragonheart comes on, and there's Sean Connery's dragon flying around, and there's Dennis Quaid going like, "I am a knight of the old code," and da 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 da, and literally as soon as the Dragonheart trailer finished playing, the door opens and Dennis Quaid walks in. Right, and
We
I was
planned
like,
that. Yeah.
well, I was like, "Oh, Mr. Quaid, like, welcome." And he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "This is really ironic because like right before you walked in, there was the trailer for Dragonheart that played." And he was like, "Oh, that's what they call synchronicity," And
I love it.
yeah, and I forget what happened. He rented something or whatever, and he was pleasant and polite. I don't remember anything else. Just that, like, he's a nice, friendly guy, right?
Yeah.
But then this is my favorite story, and you being a horror fan, you're gonna dig this one. So I'm at the counter. The store is dead. I'm like drawing some monster, because that's what I do when I'm at a job. I'm bored. I'm drawing a monster, right?
Mhm.
This guy walks in the store, little short guy. I don't recognize him. He starts walking around. He's browsing. He gets his things. He comes to the counter. I'm looking at him. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Good, good." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Okay, do you have your membership card?" He's like, "Yep, here you go." He hands me his membership card. I look at the card, and it's last name first, and then first name. So I look at the card, Raimi, Sam, right? And I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, right? So I'm looking at this, and it took me like 10 seconds for my brain to process. I was like, Raimi, Sam Raimi. I was like, and I'm like, look, and I like look up at him, and you know what Sam Raimi looks like? He's just this unassuming little guy. And I was like, Sam Raimi, and he said, "Yep, that's me." And I was like, "The Sam Raimi who directed Evil Dead 2?" And he's like, "Yep, that's me." I was like, "Oh my god, I love your movies! Like, I'm such a big fan of it." And he's like, "Oh, thank you." And he was really nice, and we chatted for a minute, and then I was like, "Wait a second, before you go, I'm gonna give you a present. I've been drawing this," and I signed my drawing. I was like, "I'm an artist. Like, here's a drawing of a monster. Like, I'm sure everybody comes up to you, they want an autograph from you. I'm going to change up the pace. I don't want anything from you. I'm going to give you something." Right? And he was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Thanks, man." And then years later, I met him again on the set of the first Spider-Man movie.
Mhm.
And I knew in advance that I was going to be on that set. So I was like, I'm going to do another drawing for him. So I did this big, I did an 11 by 17 Spider-Man drawing where Spider-Man's like stuck to the side of the building. He's like about to spin a web, and there's the whole cityscape below him. Like, I spent a long time on this drawing, and it was like professional quality comic book cover kind of Spider-Man illustration. And I put it in a frame, and I took it to the set, and I waited for a moment when he seemed free, and I went back up to him. I was like, "Sir, you might not remember, but a few years ago I gave you a drawing at Blockbuster Video, and here I am again. Here's another drawing. I just want to say I'm so happy you're making this movie." And once again, he was cool. He was just like, "Oh, this is really great. Thank you, man." And So yeah, I don't know. That was a whole tangent, but
Yeah,
you started with Jamie Lee Curtis, so it's your fault.
worth the price of admission. I'm glad you gave it to him on the set of Spider-Man 1 rather than 3. I'm sure he had a different opinion of Spider-Man by the third one.
Yeah.
He didn't
Now I
seem
wonder.
too jazzed
I've done
about
that a few times where I'll like give a celebrity like a portrait of them or something like that as a gift, and I wonder like, do they still have that somewhere? You know, I gave Rick Baker like a framed piece of art that I did when I was like 10 years old, and I met him once, and it was like Rick Baker in the middle, and around him are like portraits of like some of his creations,
Oh,
you know, and it was a little 12-year-old kid drawing, so it was what it was, but he really liked it, and I wonder like, where's that drawing? Like, what did he do with that? Is that in a storage bin somewhere, or does he have a room in his house of like fan art that people have sent him throughout the years? So if you're an artist, you wonder where your stuff like ends up in the
well,
world.
sure. You took
So
the
it's kind
time
of-
to create it, so
Yeah, it's fun to think about. So yeah.
all
Anyway.
right. Let me run through a few of my questions here. These are
Oh yeah, that's
these,
right. You
these
have
are
questions.
these are two.
It's
all-
not just me monologuing the whole time.
Yeah,
You want to get a word in? Okay.
I was like, hey man, who can I get to put this on autopilot and I can just sit back and laugh? He said, Jesse D'Angelo is your guy. No, I think we kind of brushed into this much earlier, but first question, what got you into this genre? Like, I think I have an idea, but what's your first horror memory that's pleasant? You know, when you're a kid.
Oh, I mean, when I was a kid, for anybody who doesn't know, my family made horror movies, like straight-to-video horror movies, in New York and in Canada before we moved to Los Angeles, and so they were all really cheap. So when I was like 8 years old, my mother and my stepfather started making these movies, and they started putting me in them because they needed to do something with me. I had to go along with them for however long. So they were like, "Ah, we'll put Jesse in the movie," and so there's like 5 movies from the 80s that I was in when I was like 8 and 9 years old, and they're all like cheesy horror movies, and they're all terrible.
At least 2 of them are good. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they're all fun. Well, 1 or 2 of them are not fun, but they're all kind of like, if you like that kind of thing, you know, they're fun. And but I always loved it. And my stepfather, John Fasano, rest his soul, he passed away a few years ago. But he really got me into it. Like, he was a longtime horror movie fan, monster movie fan growing up. He loved Godzilla and the Universal monsters and all that kind of thing. So he would show me that stuff, like when I was really little. And then we started making those movies, like in Canada, like Black Roses and Rock and Roll Nightmare. And
Those
little
2 are
by
good
little,
for sure. What are the
those
other
2
3?
are fun. So Black Roses, Rock and Roll Nightmare. There's also Zombie Nightmare. That one has Adam West and Tia Carrere in it.
I haven't watched that one yet. I've seen the cover 8 million times. I've never actually gotten to watch it though.
It's also kind of fun in that same vein. John only co-directed that one. That was John, and then Jack Brovman kind of directed most of that one. So Zombie Nightmare, Rock and Roll Nightmare, Black Roses. There's one called The Jitters, which is like Chinese hopping vampire movie.
Oh, I love that stuff.
Which is an interesting movie. And then there's one called Blood Sisters, directed by Roberta Findlay. So those are like the ones. Then there's a couple others that they worked on, but those are like the main ones. And so yeah, we did those movies. And as we're doing that, John is like showing me, you know, Jason and the Argonauts and The Creature from the Black Lagoon and all of like the old classics. And then he'd kind of sneak the new stuff in there, like, okay, Jesse, you're 9 years old. Is your mother watching? Here's American Werewolf in London.
Oh man.
here's Reanimator. And I'd be like, Jesus Christ, you know, way too young to be watching that shit. But
yeah,
you know, the nice thing is when you grow up on movie sets, like making monster movies, and you see head casts being made and you see people getting makeup put on and you know the process. So and you know the process of shooting movies, how the cameras work, how the lights work, and then you watch those movies, it's not as bad because you're watching it as a film. You know, you're seeing how it was crafted, and it becomes enjoyable, and it's not scary. You know, for me, monsters, all that stuff doesn't scare me. You know what movie actually scared me in the last couple of years, and I was totally not expecting it? 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams. That was like
underrated, man.
Yeah, that was like, I was not expecting that. I was like, oh, this is gonna be kind of boring, but it was like they ramped up the suspense. He was really creepy, and he's really good in that. And it's something that could happen, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so when you get to the end and he's like unhinged, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, man, this is the kind of shit that could actually happen to you. And he's really intense, and it's scary.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's scary. American Werewolf in London, that's like, oh, it's fun. It's happy, happy, fun time. There's monsters and there's blood, and
it would terrify my children to see American Werewolf for sure.
Well, sure. How old are your kids?
5 and 8.
Okay. Yeah, they need it. The 8-year-old, maybe a couple more years.
Yeah.
maybe ease him in with like a little Monster Squad, you know, something like that first. I don't know.
Well, I've got
Monster Squad's kind of rough too.
Well, I've got a pair of Wolfman's Nards over here somewhere in the package, and he asked about it. And it's my buddy makes them. They're just 2 little fluffy balls in a pack with the logo on it.
That's great.
I said, it's Wolfman's Nards. He's like, what? I was like, in the Monster Squad, he kicks Wolfman in the Nards. And he's like, we haven't gotten there yet. I wore that great as a kid, man. That movie was hard to find for a hot minute.
Monster Squad?
You could not find a legit copy of that film for a long time.
Well, it wasn't a hit. It was a box office bomb. So it was like, yeah, they weren't rushing to give us a release. Now we've got like a nice DVD. I think it's like a double disc with documentary and stuff and commentary, and that's really cool.
It's love now, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but that's Shane Black and
Fred Dekker.
Fred Dekker, Black and Dekker. You know, Predator. You know, like what, Lethal Weapon. Mm-hmm. I mean, really good movies, but I love Monster Squad. It is a little rough at times. Dracula calling the little girl a bitch is just a little crazy, but I love it.
Here's the problem with Monster Squad. It's a little bit too this way for some people, and it's a little bit too this way for others. It kind of doesn't find the right tone. So like there's some actual spooky stuff in it. Like there's some blood, like the werewolf transforming, he's got spit coming out of his mouth, and it's like, it's really visceral, and he blows up at one point and his guts are all over the street. So it's
Winston,
like,
man, it's Stan Winston. Steve Wang worked on that movie. Stan Winston.
Oh yeah. And it's like that, all of that bloody stuff and some of that monstery kind of stuff is a little bit too much for the younger kids, right? But then there's all this other stuff in the movie, like the cute little girl and the kids bantering and all that. And so that stuff is maybe a little bit too kiddie for the hardcore horror fans. Yeah. So it kind of winds up in this gray area in between where it's not really geared enough in one direction to suit any audience enough.
I could see that. I mean, I think those of us
who love it.
That,
yeah.
But it's nostalgia, right? Like that you love it because of nostalgia, right? Like,
well, I loved it at the time when I first saw it. Right. I love anything with monsters, and none of that shit bothers me. But I mean, like for general audiences, it's a little too scary for little kids. It's a little too kiddie for, you know, the grown-ups. So it's kind of like it's neither here nor there for general audiences. But you and me love it, so yeah, fuck everybody else.
Okay, so along the same lines.
Gotta check my hair. Gotta make sure my hair's okay.
It's good, man. You look good.
Okay, good.
The first horror film you remember watching?
Oh my God. dude, I'm 44 years old. Do you think I remember this shit? Let
I'm
me see.
41.
Yeah. I can't say for sure what the first one was, but
But the
like,
first one you remember, it doesn't have to be the first one
yeah,
ever, but the first one that made an impression.
it might have been the Wolfman,
Oh,
the
wow. Okay.
original.
Lon Chaney
It-
Jr.
Yeah, it might have been the Wolfman or Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like I remember John, my stepdad, was like, he started showing me that kind of stuff when we first met. Um, I mean, maybe when I was younger, would you consider Fantasia horror? I mean, there were things that were like kind of scary in Fantasia.
Parts of it.
Yeah. I mean, my earliest memories are like the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Um, I can't remember firsts. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the stuff I really loved kind of early on.
Okay. I'm going to try to lightning round the rest of these because
Okay.
I promised
I'll try
you
to
an
keep my
hour.
answers short.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Favorite subgenre of horror?
Is monsters a subgenre?
Yeah.
I like monster stuff. I prefer monsters over slashers or stuff like that. So anything with a monster in it, I like it.
Creature features.
Yeah, creature features.
Doesn't have to be a giant creature. Just creature.
Yeah, any kind of creature I like.
Okay. Least favorite subgenre, which you might have already just answered that, but
Yeah.
you didn't say slashers was your least favorite though. There may be something else that's worse.
No. You know what I don't like is torture porn, kind of stuff like Hostel, movies like that. There's some books in the extreme horror genre where it's just somebody just getting tortured horribly for the whole duration, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't interest me, I'm not there just to watch gore and
So like the guinea pig movies or
I haven't seen that.
So,
No. But like Saw, Hostel, like I saw the first couple Saw movies. I think the first two Hostel movies, and I was just like, like I get it,
I love
but
Hostel
it's not.
too.
Yeah, it's been so long, I don't remember, but it's like I get it, but it's not really my thing.
Okay.
Ironic since I just released a fucking extreme horror book, but it's not just torture. It's not torture porn. It's satire. No. It's adventure.
Well, and even so, I mean, there's even blurred lines in that. That genre. If you call in torture porn a subgenre, right? Like I don't consider Hostel torture porn because Hostel has this whole story going for it that really doesn't even involve the torture. But then if you take a movie like Guinea Pig, which one of the Guinea Pig movies, you've had to have heard about this. Like it's the movie that Charlie Sheen, some tape of it ended up at his house or something. And he called the cops saying that someone put a snuff film on his doorstep or whatever. And it was fake, of course, but that's all it is. It's 45 minutes of like simulated torture and there's nothing. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
That's not fun to watch. Like that's
I hear it.
More along the lines of those other books.
Hostel and Saw, like that stuff is like well made and I kind of like it and it's good, but even as a horror fan, I think it just makes me uncomfortable just watching torture.
Yeah.
In general, and a few of my books like involve a little bit of that, and I'm really careful to kind of not overdo it, to not linger too long with it, to not make the whole thing about the torture, but to make that just like a moment in the story.
Sure.
Because just anytime you're just sitting and watching a movie and someone's like strapped to a chair and it's just like, Jesus Christ, man. Like it stops being fun. I like having fun and watching monsters and silly shit. Most of my stuff is like really kind of comedic, if anything. Anybody who reads my books will say like, yeah, it's like there's a sense of humor throughout it. It's a lot of it is comedy, even though it's horror. So I like to keep things kind of light, and torture.
I can
torture's not light. Yeah.
it's not for everybody for sure.
Yeah.
That
Next
is-
question.
That is, I was going to say that's a popular
Gross.
answer on here, but so far everyone's had a different answer for least favorite subgenre.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Rape Revenge was one. I get that, like I Spit on Your Grave and Last House on the Left, stuff like that. And what was the other one? Actually, I don't
Is that
remember
a
the last
genre? Is that even a genre, or is that just like a subject matter for a plot? I guess it could.
Using
Yeah.
the term
It's
pretty
debatable.
broadly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Subgenre, right? You could,
It's debatable.
well, creature could be subject matter to, right? It's sort of just
Yeah.
whatever. We're not.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing the gavel down on anybody. Okay, here's a fun one. You used to work at Blockbuster, so this is apropos. What's a VHS cover you remember from the video store? Like, what cover stands out? And I'll tell you, you were in one of the movies that stands out to me the most. Black Roses has an amazing cover.
Yeah. Well, I can't use that one because I'm in it. But Black Rose has got this like cover that's like a 3D thing that it stands out.
Yeah.
Pretty gimmicky, but got a few people's attention. God,
Mine.
what covers stood out? I'll tell you things. A cover that stood out for the wrong reasons, right? Was Judge Dredd with Stallone.
Okay.
For some reason, studios have this habit of like they release the main poster like for the cinemas and for the billboards and stuff, and they've got this great poster, but then when it comes time for the video release, it's some new poster that's just like a quickie that like sucks for
Yeah.
some reason. And if you remember, the original Judge Dredd poster was just Stallone's face
Yeah.
with the mask, and it's like reflect him, and it's like he is the law, Judge Dredd, and it's like boom, and it's like really cool dramatic thing. But then for the video box, it's just like some medium shot of Stallone like holding a gun and his helmet's off because it's like we got to sell that it's Stallone, we've got to see his face, and it's just some really kind of cheap composite of him just pointing a gun, and it's like
Yeah.
And there was a lot of examples of that where it's just like just use the original theatrical poster. It's so much better. So
In Australia, apparently they used the poster for I guess Vestron put it out. That's what I'm looking at. And on the back, there's the picture of him with the gun doing this. But yeah, the front, that cover's great. I'm pretty sure that cover is like a mimic of one of the comic covers, maybe the first issue. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be.
I'm not that up on the comic, but it looks very iconic with him with the helmet.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. Good pick.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite costume or mask from the world of horror?
Oh my God. Favorite costume or mask? I mean, I got to pick Jason's hockey mask, right? I mean, there's so
iconic,
many.
Man.
There's so many. Since we've been talking about all of this, I've got I can't move this right now, but I've actually got a replica of Jason's mask. It doesn't have any of like the scratches or the blood or anything on it. It's just the mask, but it's from the mold, so
Yeah.
it's the right mask. But there's something about that mask. And in part 3, they say they weren't planning it. They were just like, we have to put something on his face so that we don't have to keep putting prosthetics on him all the time. So here's a hockey mask.
Yeah.
And I can't help but be like, really? Come on. It's too perfect to just be a coincidence. You had to have put some thought into that. He could have put on any mask to cover that up, and but they chose this one that's like simple, blank, but with that physique and him just standing there looking at you and not seeing his eyes. It's like it's so effective.
They for sure made that mask that's in the movie. I don't think.
Yeah, they did.
I can buy that they didn't believe it was going to be as iconic as it was, right? Like, I don't think George Lucas wrote A New Hope thinking it was going to launch billions of dollars in toys, theme parks, and everything else. I don't think they thought about that, but they copied it off of a particular goalie mask, like Jacques Laplante. Was it, I nerd out. I used to make replica Jason masks. That was one of the things I did on the side when I worked at Walmart. And
Okay.
right, so
Cool.
you doodled monsters. I was like, vacuum forming plastic and being a big nerd.
Cool.
But yeah, they fashioned it off of that mask, because if you go back in history and look at hockey masks, they didn't look like anything in those movies, right? But
Right.
I think once they let that cat out of the bag and people saw it, because in 3, I mean, you see it at the end, but that's like 90% of the film he's not even wearing it, and then all of a sudden it's like this big deal. It carries into 4, and then they're like, well, we're slap some blue chevrons on it, and we're making another remake or another sequel.
Yeah.
But it has become this. I mean,
yeah,
it's probably the number one. I can't think of anything bigger than that.
Well, there's that. There's Freddy's glove. There's a lot of people that make replicas of that. When I was a kid, like all my friends were like, "Oh, look, I got a toy Freddy's glove," or I made my own Freddy's glove. There's a lot of stuff like that. I'm sure I could think of a lot more if I like start thinking of it. But yeah, the one that comes to mind is that mask. So it's Michael Myers mask too, of course. But I like Jason a bit more than Michael Myers.
All of these things are like happy. I don't think Freddy's glove was a happy accident. I think that they knew that was crazy. Yeah. Like they knew what they were building was insane. But like the Captain Kirk mask, and they cut the eye holes and spray painted and did all this craziness, and the hockey mask just came out of Shelley's bag, and it's magic. Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, and I love that first sorry.
No,
keep going. Lightning round.
Okay,
let's do it.
Now this one's going to slow things down though a little bit. This is the controversial question. I have to throw one in here. And there's no. This is a judgment-free zone. This is a Planet Fitness. Okay.
All right, hit me with it.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the cancellation of a movie because of the behavior of those who made it? Or it could be a book, like an author. Like if Stephen King came out as a big creep, are we going to stop reading it?
Wait, when you say cancellation of a movie, do you mean like if a movie's in production, they stop production because of that? Or
no, like the canceling of a pop culture thing in the court of public opinion, more so than like stopping the creation of the film.
I'm never in favor of cancellation like that. Not mass cancellation. I mean, it's like if you hear that such and such filmmaker or actor, says things or does things that turns you off, it's like, sure, stop watching their movies, stop buying their books, and all of that. But I don't think there's any excuse to like for people to just mob together and like protest and say like, you've got to fire this person, you can't let this person be in this sequel to this movie, or you can't, it's like just let people do what they're going to do. But it's tricky because there are people that I see that I'm like, ooh, I really don't like this actor now, like I used to, but they just said some dumb shit, and now you know what, I just don't want to support them. Right.
Sure.
But that's a personal thing for me. Like the thing with Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, I'm kind of a Will Smith fan. He's been in some movies I like. He's charismatic. He's fun. But that's a fucking bitch move right there. And I disagree with that. And I disagreed with the Academy giving him an award and allowing him to stay. I would have been like, dude, I'm sorry, you're fucking out of here, but that's me personally. Right. So I wouldn't say, well, Will Smith did something I don't like. Now you movie studio, we're going to petition that you don't ever give Will Smith a job in a movie again.
Right.
I'm just not going to go pay to see his movie again. So if enough people are of that opinion, they stop going to see an actor's movie, then their career can suffer as a result. But yeah, otherwise it's just like a form of censorship where people en masse are demanding somebody be canceled because they don't like them. It's like, no, that's not the free market. I'm sorry. That's That's bully tactics. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I get a different opinion every time I ask it. So I got to keep asking it every show.
Yeah, there you go.
It just came out one night, and then like I've asked it 2 or 3 times since then. It's a different answer every time. And I'm like, cool. I'm just going to get a different answer every time I like it. All right.
My answer is the right answer. So there you go.
Of course. Answers by Jesse. That's the next book.
Everyone else is entitled to their incorrect opinion. That's fine.
All right. I got one more. This one's fun. We're back to fluff. So what are 3 films you think every horror fan should see? So someone's just they're blank slate. What are the 3 movies they have to watch?
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm not going to put too much thought into this because there's fucking thousands of movies that I could choose from. Okay. 3 that you got to see. So I'd say maybe the original Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bigger Jason fan than I am Michael Myers, but that first Halloween movie is the best out of all of those franchises.
Okay.
In my mind. So Halloween 1, An American Werewolf in London. That's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's
Sometimes I'll say that's my number 1 favorite movie ever. I just think it's fucking phenomenal. And God, maybe Reanimator. Reanimator is just so much fun. If you want horror and you want some blood and guts and you want stuff that's just gonna like hit you in the face with it, it's like, and it's also like funny, you know. So I would say, yeah, those are just the first 3 off the top of my head. I'm sure if I had time to like narrow it down, I might say something else, but yeah, first 3 off my head.
No, I like it, man. It's good answers.
Okay.
I don't think I've gotten those answers yet, so that's good. See, nice variety here.
Yeah.
Well, guys, Jesse, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me tonight. And
sure, thank you.
Everybody out there, I would love to encourage you to go to buyhorrorbooks.com, or if you just love Amazon, if Bezos needs your money, sure, man, you can go over to Amazon and you get Dying Sheep right now, Barnes and Noble. Leave him a 5-star review because everybody else is, and I'm not joking about that.
I've got a handful of 4-star reviews. One person left me a 3-star review. It wasn't a bad review. He didn't hate it, but I don't think he was really vibing with it. Wasn't really getting what I was going for. But yeah, for the most part, I'm amazed. It's mostly super positive. So let me just say thank you for everybody who's read it and reviewed it and had nice things to say. It warms my black shriveled heart. So thank you.
I'm gonna have to get it on my Kindle because I like paper books, but I like my Kindle better, man. They all fit on that little thing, and I don't lose them. So
fair enough.
All right, Jesse. Well, anything else you want to plug before we head out for the night?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My website is jessedangelo.net. No apostrophe in D'Angelo in that address. But yeah, I think that's it for now. Just everybody go out and buy lots and lots and lots of my books, and then I'll like you, and everything will be fine.
There you go. Good sage advice from Jesse. All right.
Yes.
Jesse, thanks again, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, Corey.
All my pleasure, dude.
And yeah, Tennessee, we got to have coffee or something. All right.
All right, definitely. You got to come up to FrankenCon, man. June
I
is
will
going to be lit or whatever, fam, as the kids say. Yeet.
It's going to be the bomb, yo.
That sounds like old man talk, right?
Is
there.
it? Is the bomb old man?
Oh yeah.
Right. I like to annoy people by like pretending to think I know how to talk hip when really I'm like the least hip person that I've ever met, so
you've now met me over the internet, so I don't know if that's true anymore. All right,
I try. Anyway, thank you again, Corey. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, dude. And everybody out there, thanks for watching. And like, share, subscribe, smash that like button. Yeet. Stay spooky, my dudes.
Thank you. Have a good night.
The interview slaps, fam.